Good morning and welcome to this day 3 session on carbon capture, utilization, storage, scalable and investable projects and how they could be built and demonstrated and deployed. I want to thank the team at Decarb Connect for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you. I want to thank the audience for dialing into this session today in the morning. 2021 has already been an amazing year for carbon capture, utilization, storage. We have seen some very, very big announcements come from governments, from companies, from the other actors. For example, Elon Musk announcing $100 billion for the most exciting technology that can be scaled up to one gigaton of carbon dioxide removal. A couple of the announcements that really excite me, I want to mention them today here because they work towards helping the wider deployment of CCUS and making it investable and scalable. Great announcements come from the US government, the promise to invest in the infrastructure on carbon capture, the announcement from the UK government, the promise to invest £1 billion into the infrastructure for developing carbon capture, utilization, storage from the European government, from the Dutch government, the plan from Chevron, Microsoft, and Schlumberger to come together and build first of its kind innovative project that will deliver carbon negative carbon emissions. I think all of these projects and all these opportunities coming up are working towards development of what I'd like to call as regional hub clusters, where CO2 could be captured and collaboratively utilized or stored for decarbonizing a much wider region. Now, North America has always been a leader as far as carbon capture, utilization, and storage is concerned. It has the highest number of projects operating out there on the ground and some of the highest volumes of carbon dioxide captured anywhere in the world. I would classify these in 3 major categories. Projects, those are commercial, those are really operating, for example, Petronova in Texas. Projects, those are at the demonstration scale. Very interesting projects. For example, Carbon Clean has got a demonstration project coming up with Cemex, and I'll talk about that later in the slides. And then development of the regional hubs and clusters. For example, the Gulf Coast collaboration partnership, where a couple of companies are coming together and they are looking to deliver this as a collaborative project. Very interesting projects being developed across the United States at this point of time. For carbon capture to be scalable and for it to be investable, I truly believe that it needs to be a proposition that could be scaled up and could be replicated across different sites quickly and easily in a manner that could actually be done by many companies over a period of time. And hence at Carbon Clean, we believe that foundation industries, heavy industries are absolute key if carbon dioxide capture, utilization, and storage has to be scaled to a more than a gigaton scale. These foundation and heavy industries include companies like steel, cement, waste incineration, refining and petrochemicals, chemicals, and many others, metals mining, and many other industries that have a huge footprint today, but would like to get decarbonized as the world moves towards net zero ambition. And that's exactly where Carbon Clean is acting. I want to maybe take some time and talk about Carbon Clean and what we do and how do we work with companies out there. So at Carbon Clean, we are revolutionizing the industrial decarbonization. The biggest problem we have found as far as scaling up carbon capture for industrial sector is concerned is the space. None of the heavy industry plants or companies we've had a conversation with, they've never said that they have ample space or open space available for developing carbon capture projects. Real estate is the biggest problem out there. So what we're delivering is compact modularized carbon capture technology that could be boxed all inside a logistics container, could be delivered to the site and integrated to any site in less than 8 weeks' time. This allows most of the industrial companies to achieve a target carbon capture cost of $30 per ton. It allows them to achieve a footprint reduction of 5 times compared to the state-of-the-art technology available today. And like I said, this is our initiative and this is our technology push towards scaling up that carbon dioxide so that it can become a solution for gigaton scale carbon capture. A bit more about Carbon Clean. We are a company that started 11 years back. We're based and headquartered in the UK, but we have offices in the US, in Europe, and India. We've been experiencing a very, very high level of revenue growth, and this is all because as the world tries to move towards decarbonization, net zero ambition, people are interested in finding solutions that can help them decarbonize in not long run, but in short run and medium term. And that's exactly what we're delivering. Compact, scalable carbon dioxide capture technology that could be successively built up on site so that our customers or industrial companies out there could decarbonize their sites as they go forward. You know, you could sort of say, well, I want to decarbonize 10% in 24. I want to decarbonize to the extent of 25% by 25, 40% by 26, and that's all possible because of the modular units and the modular technology we provide. We work with best-in-class industrial companies out there in cement, steel, chemicals, waste incineration, refining, and petrochemicals. And we are very much looking forward to helping other companies and working with other industrial clubs and customers to help them scale the technology and deployment to a much bigger scale as we go forward. Now, the question is CCUS a realistic solution, and can it be scaled up? And if it has to be scaled up, how significant that scale up should be? Now, our analysis based on the reports from IEA and from other international energy agencies suggest that for carbon capture and utilization storage, for it to become a meaningful tool in our fight against climate change, the installation capacity of carbon dioxide capture has to be scaled up about 500 times between now and 2050. 500 times scale up. That's a massive scale up. I mean, if you think about it, we are talking about solar energy in 2011. This is exactly the point where solar energy deployment was 10, 11 years back. And that's the same kind of revolution that needs to happen within the carbon capture community for the whole technology to be scaled up and for it to become an investable proposition, not only for industrial companies, but also for the funds, also for the governments. Now, we've seen a lot of movement and a lot of positive announcements coming from private industries. However, there is a need for the government to step in and match the investment and the ambition with which most of the private companies are moving out there. I mean, very interestingly, on MSCI index, if you think about majority of the industrial companies listed, publicly listed, have now already mentioned or have committed to some kind of climate change ambition as they work towards defining their net zero strategy. So it's very, very important that for carbon capture to be scaled up, governments step in even more and do even more than what they're doing today. At Carbon Clean, we've been collaborating and we've been working with top of the notch companies out there who are leading the fight against climate change. We are backed by the shareholders like Chevron Technology Ventures, Marubeni Corporation from Japan, Equinor from Norway, Wave Equity Partners from Boston, and ICOS Capital from the Netherlands. But what's really interesting is the mix of partnerships, especially the customer partnerships, with which we are now sort of starting to deploy the technology and grow the scalability effect of carbon capture. Really excited about our partnership with Lafarge Holcim and Cemex, two of the largest companies out there in the cement and concrete business, with Veolia, one of the largest companies out there in the waste incineration business, and then many others. And I'll talk about a couple of the examples of how industrial companies, specifically in steel, cement, refining, waste incineration, chemicals, could think about decarbonizing their sites either with the help of CCU, carbon capture and utilization, or with the help of carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Let me jump straight into CCU, so the utilization part of it. In India, we have a plant that captures carbon dioxide from a coal-fired boiler. And on site, the CO2 is converted into a green chemical, which is then used by Unilever to produce low carbon detergents. It's a very good example of how carbon capture technology married with a utilization solution is delivering circular economy for products that can be reached or that could potentially become very impactful for many individuals. People have the power of buying, and hence they can impact and influence what kind of low carbon products they want to buy as they go forward. Similarly, we have announced an investment in liquid wind, which is a project in Sweden where we are looking to capture CO2 from an emission source, mix it with hydrogen produced from offshore wind to produce carbon neutral fuel, which will then be used in the shipping industry. Now, shipping, as you know, is hard to abate industry. It's very difficult to actually switch to something low carbon very quickly. But this strategy of utilizing the CO2 into a carbon neutral fuel will allow the shipping companies to decarbonize their shipping fleets as early as 2022. Let me move on to the heavy industry side. So one of the ways of decarbonizing heavy industry is through blue hydrogen. And I think there has been a lot of wider policy shift towards using hydrogen as a source to achieve decarbonization. I mean, within the US, excuse me, within the US, the very recent announcement coming from the DOE, very positive as far as the deployment of hydrogen is concerned within the US industry. And that's really where our project and our partnership with Biotech comes into play. With Biotech, we are looking to work on commercializing opportunities that would deploy and scale up the distributed hydrogen generation and capturing carbon dioxide from all these sites so that they could be truly blue hydrogen sites. Now, if you think about it, if we could use hydrogen within the steel plants, if we could use hydrogen within the mobility industry, if we could mix the hydrogen with the natural gas, you could actually reach out to a much wider consumer base for decarbonization and for the use of the products out there. Let me move on to heavy industry, cement. I mean, one of the largest emitters out there. I'm really excited with our partnership with Cemex in the US there. It's a great story that's in making. Recently, US Department of Energy awarded us funding for deploying the all-in-a-box Cyclone CC technology at one of the Cemex sites in California. Now, if you think about the implications and impact, if we could decarbonize a cement plant in California, it could have major implications not only for the company, but also for the buildings that those are going to use the greener products produced from the CO2 on site, and it could help those buildings achieve decarbonization as they go forward. I'm sure quite a few of the audience here have gone through the question and have been asked the question and the difference between carbon neutral versus carbon negative. So I want to talk a bit about that and clear some myths around that. I think it's very important as we discuss and we go on to talk about the debate around decarbonization, scaling up CCUS technology and making it more investable. I think it's very important that we bring a lot of transparency into how CO2 is captured, how it is utilized, and whether it's classified as neutral or green. So on this slide, there are very simple diagrams and examples of different ways and mechanisms of capturing carbon dioxide and how it could be mixed and matched with biomass, which turns it carbon negative. And if it mixed with hydrogen to produce a fuel out of it, it turns into neutral. The overall messaging here is quite simple. If CO2 could be utilized in conjunction with a biomass utilization facility, it becomes carbon negative. And if CO2 could be mixed with green hydrogen or hydrogen produced using offshore wind or hydrogen produced using wind energy or any kind of renewable power for that matter, then it becomes carbon neutral product, which could then be deployed out there. But it's very interesting the kind of price points companies could get for deploying CCUS, where you can achieve negative carbon emissions. I mean, if you look at the very recent numbers out there, where companies are paying up to $1,000 per ton of carbon dioxide for carbon negative emissions. And this becomes even more interesting in the wake of announcements from the likes of Microsoft, where they have said that they're going to offset all their historic carbon emissions. The only way to do that is negative carbon emissions. So for companies thinking about mitigating their own carbon emissions, it's not only a regulatory driven approach that should be thinking about, it could also be a business opportunity they should be thinking about at this point of time. And that sort of brings us very nicely to the point where we talk about carbon capture and utilization as a service. So for those in the audience who do not understand or know about CCUS as a service, it's essentially a model where you can ask an independent provider or a technology supplier or any other firm for that matter to build a carbon capture and utilization or carbon capture, transport, and storage network for you. And then you can pay them for decarbonizing your site over a period of a long time, maybe 15 to 20 years. And this is something, this is a business model innovation Carbon Clean is bringing out to the market. We are working with our partners, for example, our investor and shareholder, Equinor, who are the lead developers in one of the largest CO2 storage projects in Norway. We're working with them to come up with a full chain CCUS solution where industrial companies could lease carbon capture equipment from us. And then we marry this with the CO2 transport and storage capacity and capability of Northern Lights project to deliver a full-scale carbon capture utilization as a service model. All you have to do is negotiate or discuss a price per ton of CO2, and that's it. We take care of the rest. And to aid the customers or companies interested in finding out what's the cost of carbon capture at their site, we have launched a tool, an online tool. You can go to our website and you can check this tool out. It's a very simple tool which will allow companies, especially industrial companies, to understand the cost of carbon capture. Cost of carbon capture is essentially the price point. I mean, what's the dollar amount you will have to pay today, tomorrow, next year, year after that, to be able to decarbonize your site? And whether carbon capture and utilization and storage is a viable tool for you to decarbonize your site as well. It's very important. The starting point is, well, okay, what's my cost of carbon capture today? So you can go to our website, and if you go and try this tool, the tool will give you the cost of carbon capture in less than 4 seconds. You could also work with our experts out there to ask any questions. If you've got any clarifications you would want, all of that could be issued as well. This is all a tool that our company is deploying out there to help people understand how easy carbon capture and utilization could potentially be, and how quickly it could be deployed at their sites. It goes without saying, the development of CCUS as an industry, the scalability and the impact, the gigaton impact, depends on what kind of support we could actually get from the government. I think the private sector is out there to go out and commit more and more capital to achieve the ambition of net zero, but we do need to see more policy support and a long-term policy support from the government for CCUS to really scale up as we go forward. I want to thank the audience and thank Decarb Connect North America for giving me the opportunity to come and share some of the work that we're doing and the implications for scaling up and making CCUS more investable. Later after this presentation, I'll be joined by some very, very esteemed and experienced people who would be out there and will talk to you about the business opportunities we are seeing in terms of scaling up carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Thank you.